Prince was a very complex individual trying to navigate coming from having nothing and to distinguish yourself to the point that he did, and having the money and along with money comes a lot of people saying a lot of things about you. And before you know it, you're like this Goliath. People that you used to know are throwing pebbles trying to just get your attention. Have to stay grounded.
American Top 40.
Now on American Top 40, we're up to the superstar who made his concert debut, and the crowd laughed at him. Here's the story. This singer and songwriter was born in Minneapolis. In his early teens, he formed his first group with his best friend, Andre Simone. They called themselves Grand Central. And every day, they'd practice in the basement of Andre's mother's house. The three boys, all 15 years old, signed up for a local Battle of the Bands. They met the competition. Groups with the latest high-tech instruments and equipment. And the boys? Well, they just had cheap little instruments and tiny crude amplifiers. The other competing musicians got a look at them, and they just laughed. They told the trio they're not even going to let you get on stage. When the three boys walked out on stage, the entire audience broke out laughing. Well, those kids showed them. They played their hearts out, singing songs by all kinds of acts, from Jimi Hendrix to the Spinners to Grand Funk. The audience were on their feet screaming. First prize, $75. The lead singer of that band, Grand Central, isn't playing the Joker. He's the Prince.
And holding it number one for a second week with a song from his upcoming movie, Purple Rain, When Doves Cry.
I remember him saying to me, when he heard it on the radio, it's like between like some Phil Collins song and some Madonna song that was on the radio. The Doves Cry came on in the middle of these two songs, and he was convinced that he had made a mistake. It sounded bare-boned, dry. But he said he thought he had made a mistake.
She came to play in San Francisco at the Circle Star Theater. They called me to play in the band with the orchestra, and I said, for sure, yeah. Again, another artist you grew up listening to. Of course I would play Diana Ross. We started playing. I told my friends and family, everyone was like, I'm playing with Diana Ross at Circle Star. So half the audience was my family and friends. She got very jealous, and she was upset because they were screaming, she left. Oh my gosh, that was not a good thing. They took me backstage after the first show, and they said, but we need you to cover your arms. And I said, this is crazy. And so the musical director, I said, I'm leaving. And he said, well, no, she wants to speak with you. I said, well, what do you want me to do? She just wants you to cover up, like, everything. Like, you hired me because of my musicianship. So, if I can't, I don't even know what else to do. They said, well, you have to just, do what she says. I said, okay, then I quit. But then around 83, 84, then Prince mentioned to me, he's like, and just in passing, don't you want to do your own record? I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Sheila.
I thought it was great.
Now, you've known him for quite some time, haven't you?
Yeah.
Is this an autobiographical movie?
It's up to you, whatever you think.
But you know.
So?
What things are close to home in the films?
Everything.
A woman of a few words. You have credit on the vocals on Let's Go Crazy, right?
On Erotic City.
On Erotic City, I'm sorry. So you've worked with him before. Do you plan to work with Prince again in the future?
Yeah, probably. We're going to start working on a couple of things later on this year.
That's Prince singing the number one song on the charts right now from his new movie, Purple Rain. And Prince's movie debut is one of the things we're going to be discussing this week on At the Movies, the movie review program.
His performances don't come across as just mindless music videos in this film. They work dramatically within this movie, a story of a young kid who expresses his rage and confusion artistically. And there's a terrific love triangle in this film between the two of them and another male musician, a very hip character played by another real-life rock performer, Morris Day, and I think he's an excellent actor, and I'd like to see him do another movie sometime.
Can I be human for a second? I thought she was electrifying. I thought that their scenes together were the most erotic love scenes that I've seen in a movie in a long time. I thought she was good on stage. His music is good. The photography is good. The way that they balance that fantastic stage presence with those intense little vignettes that push the story ahead, each one not too long, makes it into a really interesting movie.
I think this film, I'll go even a little further, I think this film ought to be studied for the way it uses music dramatically and more. I read in his press notices that he may want to direct his next picture, and I'd say, wait. Let's recap our reactions to the films in the show. Both Roger and I hated the sci-fi film The Philadelphia Experiment, 2 down thumbs, 2 thumbs up for Purple Rain, featuring Prince.
By then we had press, and critics were saying good things about it.
Yeah,
now I did a film independently, an enormous amount of fanfare, but I didn't feel any different. It doesn't affect you the way you think, but we don't know anything until it goes into the theater. And once it went to the theater and we could see that people were buying tickets, we knew, okay, they like this movie.
His guitar playing, I mean, he just, he turned into a monster.
If they really listened to my stuff, they would hear more of an influence of Santana than they would Jimi Hendrix. Only because he's black. Jimi Hendrix played more blues and Santana played rhythm. But you can't compare people anyway. If somebody's just blatantly trying to rip somebody off, then you can't really tell that unless they play their songs, you know? See, you gotta understand something. There's only so much you can do on an electric guitar anyway.
You know, Mojo was a big DJ in Detroit. It was a huge fan city. I would say he was accepted there first. Detroit will always stand out in my mind as far as a place that he was a hero in Detroit. But, you know, we started the Purple Rain tour in Detroit.
As soon as we got to Detroit, the first year, he really blew up. Like Detroit, there was always kind of a unique merger of funk and rock.
Certainly when the Purple Rain tour, I mean, the first day of that Purple Rain tour was so different than any tour we had set out on. It was, well, first of all, we were in better hotels. It was like, look at this fancy hotel. Oh my God, my room is great. And then we had bodyguards.
Beginning to start to move and command the stage, you know, you get a feel for how tight the band was, ultimately how amazing the show was, but what you really come away with was the vocals, that he could shriek and scream and hit these notes that were just mind-boggling every night.
Yeah, I mean, the Purple Rain tour was the most technically complex thing we had done to that point, but I believe probably one of the technically most complicated tour that had been done at that point also. I mean, we were constantly striving to push the envelope because it's just how your eyes would see things, but compared to what it is now, it was really dark. But we ran our shows dark to begin with. Prince and I always believed that it wasn't what you saw that made the strongest point, it was what you didn't see. We also were big on the slow reveal, where you could hear him, but you couldn't see him.
He liked mystery. The more mysterious you are, the bigger the star you are. He didn't want to be ordinary. You want to be the special creature. He seemed unusually sensitive about when he was talking about anything other than the music. You know, he really stopped doing interviews for a long time. You know, I would love to talk to him during the Purple Rain period. The disappointment was I wasn't being able to interview him again.
The Purple Rain Tour.
Standing out here at Joe Louis Arena. Lots of orderly fans, 18,500 of them expected tonight. The gates should be opening doors at about 6:30. The concert is at 8.
Crazy is exactly what Memphians are about Prince. The album Purple Rain has been at the top of record album charts since the movie Purple Rain, and record sales have jumped even higher since Prince's scheduled appearances in Memphis.
Maybe I'm a star turned into Simon Says. He would just lose himself or do it on purpose. I never really knew. Then he'd look at Mark and go, stop him. He knows full well I can't see him. He's hiding his stop on the one cues. Mark had to relay them to me.
Though the biggest problem was he would hold his hands up, fingers up in the air to give us how many horn punches, and then it would, if you saw it sideways like that, you couldn't see how many, and then he could tell if you weren't playing.
You want some more? Are you absolutely sure this time? Good God!
The band that was behind him was relentlessly in tune to every move he made.
And it's the reason why I was considered the sixth member of the band is because I had to be as laser focused as the band members.
The groove actually sits so tight you feel like you're in slow motion. When the groove is that good, and everyone looked forward to that moment.
Give me two, yeah! Good God!
all his hand signals. When you think he's going to go right, he'd go left.
One time Lisa, two time Lisa, three time Lisa.
We never looked away. We kept our eyes on him. We just became a body.
I mean, if there was a horn hit or a key hit or whatever, or a turnaround, he had to be on top of it at all times.
Two time, yeah. Two time, yeah. Three time. Two time. Give me one, yeah. Give me two, yeah. Give me three, yeah. Give me four, yeah.
And every time he wanted to push it and do more of it and more of it, we had the runner's high with him.
He knew what we had.
Y'all are pretty fast, aren't you? All right. 112. No. Good God.
It made it the job at hand, and it was if you choose to take this mission. I mean, we were there and ready to do it.
Yeah, it was like, what else you got?
Well,
go ahead, try and stump the band.
Exactly.
Prince and I would compete against who would be best dressed for the shows. It was at the end of Purple Rain. We have people that make all our clothes. It's like, okay, well, I want this and I want you to make this. So whoever lost would pay each other money. So I just kept ordering clothes. I didn't know I had to pay for it. I need another fur coat for the glamorous life. So I bought a white one, a purple one, and a brown one. So you just got to buy every color. Every time I say, can I have this? They're like, we got you. No, we got you. You don't have to worry about that. We got you. At the end of that tour, I owed $1 million. I'm living the glamorous life. But they didn't tell me I had to pay for it.
And the Prince apparel just arrived 3 weeks ago.
It's definitely increased business, in the high figures, so we'll put it that way.
We get, what do the visuals have to be like? Prince thought about it a lot and worked on his image and his dancing and yelled at all of us. And what about your image and what are you doing? And, how's your hair look?
Prince clothing is as much a part of Prince as his music. The manager of the Merry-Go-Round Boutique says his store sells the purple wear exclusively. And he thinks the Prince look sells for the same reason Prince music does.
People went berserk when we went on tour.
Tour was cut short.
Well, I was shocked Prince pulled it off.
Purple Rain, we could have gone on for a year. We were only on the road
just a few months.
6 months or something.
He got bored. He was already on Under the Cherry Moon. He was way past.
He was just done with it and ready for the next thing.
He was 2 albums past Purple Rain by the time we was mid-tour. He got way in front of himself. I think if he would have really milked the Purple Rain experience, I think it would have been phenomenal. It would have been even bigger than what it was.
I mean, how can I sum it up to say what it was like working for Prince? It was hell working for Prince.
I'm not a real social person.